Good afternoon and welcome back to Restaurant Review. I'm your host, Bob Bockelman, and as we mentioned last week, summer is here. We've had such a nice spring this year, but all of a sudden now the throes of summer. We were fortunate last year that we had lots of rain in June, so we didn't feel the real brunt of it till starting in July. But right now we're at a steady climb in the 90s, both humidity and also temperature. So we've got that long, hot summer for you. But we're going to be here bringing you new restaurants as we can, as we promise to do each week. And we're continuing to do that today. Once again, we don't have, unfortunately, a musician in studio, but I'm hoping we have a lovely trio booked for next week. And I'm hoping they do commit and stay with us. And we've got another kind of a rock and roll band or something coming on, not too big, a little later. Hope for the youngsters, if they have any that watch the show. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and go back to our archive and pick out this lady who was with us a while back. She can get real exotic with her voices, so sometimes it's not always the most pleasant sound. I hate to say it like that, but I think our director has done a great job of editing to narrow it to a comfortable level so it won't be anything offensive with regard to the vibratos, etc. Hopefully it'll come off smoothly. So without further ado, let's go take a look and listen at Ashley Beach, and we'll meet the chef on the other side.
The song is entitled Thank You.
Shine bright with the light from above. You may not know where you're going, you just go with the flow. Everywhere that you're going, you are showing your glory. Tenderness, wisdom, empathy, and insight, honesty and purity, and your belief in me. For your grace, thank you for your beauty and your beautiful way. Thank you for today. And every time we play,
Okay, that was Ashley Beach. That was a nice little soft do-I-ditty, and as I tell you, our director's doing a great job keeping her under control. But meanwhile, we're going to go ahead now and move to the important stuff, the stuff you're looking for, and that's the new restaurant. Now, if you remember a few years ago, we told you about, and we've had several on the on the show, a featured trend that was called a pop-up. For those who don't know what that is, or maybe didn't see those shows, a pop-up was basically an underutilized kitchen, whereby if a restaurant was closed one day or one night, or only open for breakfast and lunch, an alternative use for them would be to rent out their kitchen and or their space to a young and upcoming, or to a person who perhaps didn't have a restaurant but was moving toward that direction, had great creative ideas. So it gave that person a chance to experience what it takes without all the heavy expense of procuring a place, renovating it, for something that I don't know whether they would work. This will truly tell them whether they are committed to a restaurant like needs to be done and whether they can generate the guest. So it was a great idea, and for the most part, it's come up because it's not gotten as much flow here as it was starting to, because as we were talking to the chef before the show, it's kind of been superseded by the latest trend, and that's the food trucks. We started with the taco trucks and then developed to a broader base that's spread all over, from California mainly to us. And, of course, they're going through their trials and tribulations. But occasionally you will see a pop-up. And what's interesting about the one we're talking about today is this is a very successful Italian, predominantly, restaurant in the city of Houma. And you say, Bob, wow, there are good restaurants in Houma. Yes, there are. I know a great couple of seafood restaurants. In fact, one chef was here for a few years. So they do. I mean, they have all those people down there and all the oil people, and they demand to have money. They demand good food. And what better cuisine than Italian? So what the interesting point here is that the restaurant called Martinique Bistro, which, of course, hopefully some of you have tried over the years, is originally by Aubert Sandos, the original chef, and now the current chef, up on Magazine and State, I believe. I know it's Magazine. Done a beautiful job, and it's a small place, beautiful little indoors, but they also have a magnificent courtyard that they open summer and winter and try and control the temperatures. That is just a beautiful setting. So very romantic. Food has been delicious. Well, the actual owners, then this may get a little complicated, the owners of the facility, the building, not the chef and the staff who own or run Martinique, but the owner of the building is actually from Houma. And he has that very successful restaurant down there called CHRISTIANOS. Okay, it's been there about 13, 14 years. But what's happening now is it's popping up on the only day that Martinique is closed, and that's Monday, and only for dinner. So we're talking about your very limited chance to try the cuisine. So reservations are very important here, because we've got a small restaurant and only open for the dinner and only open on Monday during the week. And what's happened is the entire staff, the front of the house and the chef and all, come here on Monday, the day they're normally not at their other restaurant, and prepare several of the dishes that are on the main menu. But some unusual things. Instead of just doing the ordinary classical Italian, they've kind of picked out some of the best, finest, and maybe some of the more exotic dishes to portray at the pop-up. Well, it's been open, and the chef's going to tell us, a few months. Very, very successful, and they're moving forward with that. But rather than me keep talking on, I just wanted to give you a little background, and we'll go over that in case you didn't follow it. But we want to introduce today Executive Chef Lindsey Mason from CHRISTIANOS. Welcome to the show, Lindsey.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about, we always love to know a little about yourself. Normally we're asking whether you're a native of New Orleans, but since you're really since you've really been working down in Houma since the origin, I think, of the restaurant, tell us where you originally came from, and then a little bit about your background so that people understand who you are.
All right, well, I'm originally from Thibodeau, which is right outside of Houma, pretty much small town, and from there, grew up there, cooking in Thibodeau, cooking in Houma. I've been doing it for 16 years, so it's something I love to do. Got into it with my mom cooking every night, and then both of my grandmothers were great influences, both in different cuisines. So it was something that I got to play with young and start off young and learn my way through the kitchens to where I am now.
And I have to ask because, predominantly I want to say that besides all the seafood, boiled seafoods and all dishes down there, predominantly we're still talking about more French-related food. So for it to be Italian, are you, the name doesn't sound Italian, is your family Italian? How did you get interested in the Italian cuisine as a predominant force?
Well, I find there's a lot of similarities between Italian food and Creole cuisine.
Okay.
The style of the dish really can be comparable. And then also through Cristiano himself, when he opened up the restaurant, going there, he brought a different style of Italian. He brought a more northern Italian where it's a little bit lighter, a little bit fresher in your tomato sauce and things along those lines.
Yeah. We're down here before, Chinese cuisine's been around everywhere, probably as the eldest. But Italian and French in New Orleans was really the roots when we were growing up. And so now it's great. But again, in Italian, we're predominantly talking Sicilian or southern Italy, the heavy red sauces, which are great. I mean, I love them and I still eat them every week. But it is interesting to try the northern region because of the lighterness, but still seeing a lot of the pasta dishes done in different ways. And so that's what really makes it interesting that you all have taken that and extracted it even further for this restaurant. Now let's talk again about particulars. The restaurant is only on Mondays evenings, is that correct?
Correct.
And what time are you open, do you know?
We open at 6 and we stay open until about 9. 9.
And of course we do encourage reservations, that's right, because of the limited supply. All right. And then let's see, anything else we need to know? You all have a web. Let's see. Yeah, let's talk about the website now. Since you're really talking about two restaurants here, Cristiano's, the main in Houma, and Cristiano's, the pop-up in New Orleans, the website we're going to see, does that address both situations, or is it only the major restaurant down in Houma?
The website discusses both situations. Now, in order to make reservations, you would have to get the contact information from the website and call the restaurant to make reservations at the pop-up.
Okay. And most importantly, are both menus, in other words, is the menu just for the pop-up on that website?
The menu for the pop-up is on the website.
Good, because that's the key here. Not that they don't want to look at your menu down in Houma, but I don't know how many of us are going to make a trip down there, even though now we have an interest, once we taste it, to try some of the more classical dishes. So you do have occasion to be down there for whatever. In fact, I wrote up in one of the food forums about your organization, about your restaurant. I gave it some really good comments, and 2 people wrote back, could I get more information about the original Cristianos, because they were traveling and they go there with some frequency and they've never tried the restaurant down there, so they were anxious to go see how the other restaurant is. And so that was great that we were able to stir up some business down there. Anyway, so I think that's it. So did we put up that website? Why don't we tell them what it is, and hopefully they're going to put it up on the screen so you can follow. Of course, it's www, and what's the rest of it?
It's CristianoRistorante.com.
Okay, now remember, folks, it's a little tough. Don't get thrown by the Italian version of the word restaurant. Cristiano is the last name or the family name. That's pretty easy, except there's no H in it. Some people want to think Christ is part of the name. It's not. Cristiano, so Cristiano, and then no singular position, and Ristorante, which is R-I-S, not R-E-S, Torrante. So that you're learning a little Italian by doing that. That's the word for restaurant. So CristianoRistorante.com, and as you said, you can see both menus. You can get details. Even take a look at the restaurants, because I know there's some lovely pictures of that, and some of the food, some of the items we're seeing today, and more importantly, some of the items that are on the Cristiano Houma menu. All right. Let's see, I think we've done about justice to the beginning of it. Let's go ahead and start looking now. I do apologize because when we went, since it is limited to a Monday night, we had a large group, maybe 5 or 6 diners with us, and we started ordering all around the table to share. We really wanted all of us to share the taste me specifically wanted to try every one of the dishes so that we could bring them to you and show you the pictures as well as the taste. But also that way, since it's one night, you really have so many choices, and to have to narrow it down to one dish was hard. So we're not going to follow our normal order. So you're going to see they're a little bit out of order. It's the way that we ordered for them to come out to be shown. So we won't necessarily have an appetizer, soup, salad, entree, and dessert. Desserts are definitely at the end, but you'll see there's some mixture things we ordered that are entrees, but were used as appetizers because we were sharing all of our dishes. And that'll be the case with the first dish. Let's take a look at this, and then Chef's going to tell us. And again, you're going to see that pasta is the predominant dish, but so many different types, so many different looks. And so let's talk about this particular one, please.
All right, this is our raviolini al tartufo.
Okay.
Now, basically, it's a truffle and ricotta-filled ravioli.
Okay, truffles. Now, folks, you know hopefully how good that tastes and how that's become so popular, and not just in France. So it's a wonderful contribution. So we've got raviolis here, which we all know, but it has truffles, and what was the other?
Ricotta cheese.
And ricotta cheese, okay. And how are we preparing this?
Now, as we cook the pasta, we create the sauce, which is a sauce of cream and fontina cheese. Which
okay.
is
One white,
soft,
salty, white cheese, beautiful cheese. Yeah.
We let that cook down to a nice rich sauce, add in fresh jumbo lump crab meat, garden-grown basil, and just a little bit of spice.
Well, you know, crab meat added to almost any dish is going to really elevate it. So once again, but it's light enough not to take away from any of the basic taste of the pasta. So that's all the sauce. So it's not going to be. It's a thing that goes with any kind of flavor because it's light enough, but gives you that wonderful taste of crab and that nice consistency. So it's a beautiful plate, and like I said, we all tried it and really loved it. So you can separate the raviolis and have X number for your table for each one of the plates if you want to do it the way we did, family appetizer style. Okay, now let's take a look. We got another one coming up, and I think it's another pasta dish. No, here we go. Now we're actually looking at my fault, a true appetizer, and you might recognize part of this as being something you see in a lot of restaurants today, especially Italian appetizer. And that's a bruschetta. This one is a little unusual, and I think that only one great flavor, but also some of the accompaniments. Tell us about your bruschetta, please.
This is definitely a bruschetta. We break it down a little bit, deconstruct it basically. We have toasted ciabatta bread.
Okay.
Burrata, which is a buffalo's milk mozzarella.
Mozzarella, wonderful.
And we top that burrata with a house-made pesto and serve it with roasted grape tomatoes. Now, with the grape tomatoes, we add a little bit of agrodolce, which is
let's tell the people what that is. It might not be
sweet
familiar.
and sour sauce.
Okay.
So it gives a little bit of a tanginess, but really brings out the flavor of the tomato, the sweetness and the tanginess.
Right. So, again, the ingredients are not necessarily unusual. It's pretty standard to have tomato, even though the grape tomato is normally not used so much. Maybe it's a paste or freshly chopped. The wonderful mozzarella, and of course the ciabatta bread, which a lot will just typically use maybe French tostadas or something like that. So it's a real nice combination there using in the Italian bread. All right, so that's a great starter if you want to strictly look at a true appetizer. Now let's take a look at our next one and see what else we got listed up here. But I think this one might be another pasta dish that we shared. Yes, it is. Go ahead. Let's talk about this, please.
This is our risotto.
All right.
This is.
I'm sorry. I thought it was pasta. A little rice. Go ahead.
This is an arborio rice cooked down slowly with chicken stock, butter, and Parmesan cheese to give you a really, really creamy, rich dish. Now in here we have asparagus, lemon zest, and toasted walnuts, really bringing that crisp, fresh flavor to it with the warm weather outside.
Now, Edinburgh rice. What do you? Can you be a little more definitive for those who don't know? Is that
with risotto? There's 5 specific types of rice to use, and arborio is the one we find works the best because it has such a high starch content that as you slowly stir it into the stock, it really gives it a nice creamy texture.
Great. Well, it was definitely, and you know, for those who watch those, a lot. Of course, we have so many cooking shows now. I mean, it's. Some friend of mine's telling me about, and we have several local chefs that appear, really good friends of ours, who I wouldn't consider a chef, po' boy makers, who are appearing on every one of these shows, and some of them are really ludicrous. But at the same time, I think the one that really did it for the Food Network and all is the Ramsay entourage, his numerous shows. And if you ever watched it, can tolerate more than one episode or a season. The key here is, I don't know, every year they bring these new chefs on to compete, and they're all supposedly devotees that they've watched every one of the shows. And there are 3 dishes that invariably, and the most common one that he preaches that they have to know how to cook, and he serves in the kitchen, is risotto. And if you notice, that is the one that 95% of the time is never done. Now, maybe it's just his satisfaction, but, never done properly. So how can you go to a show, want to compete, and you know that one of your tests is to produce good risotto, and you can't do it? It seems like you should practice the entire time, at least that one dish. So if you get a compliment in there, you're probably going to be staying for a pretty good number of shows. So I have to tell you, folks, if you like risotto, which I do, and if you tasted it, or if you haven't tasted one, this is one to taste. And I love it because it has, I think, a great inspiration of putting the asparagus and a little bit of crunch on the walnuts, which just gives it a little bit of crunch without taking it away or adding some exotic flavor. It's just a crunch to add to the rice. So truly very pristine, and I'm saying if you want to eat a really good risotto, this is one to try. So my compliments to you on this.
Thank you.
Now let's go ahead and take a look at our next thing. I know I did a lot of rambling on that, but it just tickles me pink. All right, here we go. Got a little something different for you here. Let's talk about it.
All right, this is our gnocchi. Now, this is a potato pasta.
Potato pasta.
Made the same way. We use golden potatoes, eggs, flour, and we roll that into a dough and boil it just like pasta. Now, when we're ready to serve it, we go ahead, sear it in real hot skillets, give it a nice crust to the outside of the pasta.
Good.
And then we toss it with a salsa verde, basically parsley, cilantro, red onions, all minced very fine, with a little bit of red wine vinegar. Mm-hmm. And we toss that with the gnocchi, adds a nice crisp flavor there. And on top we have seared beef tenderloin.
There you go. There you go. What better combination. Gnocchi, which is, of course, hopefully you've tried. There's so many versions of gnocchi, and even flavor, whether it's with spinach or salmon or plain, but just plain potato pancake, though, when a potato gnocchi is just divine. And but then to bring it another level by putting some beef with it and a little bit of a sauce to give it so it won't be so dry. Just a great thought. I had not seen it, and I'm sure you're not the only restaurant that put some meat with it, but I just thought it was well thought of, and once again, a great combination. So any one of these pasta or rice dishes are gonna do great for you, whether you use them as an entree or split them and share them with some of the people at your dining table. Excuse me. All right, let's move on a little bit more. And I think I know we got a soup coming up, but I'm not sure if that's next because that's my favorite. One of the things that I love soup all year round. Let's see, I don't want to get too heavy into soup while we're getting the pictures up because it will probably be something else before the soup. As I've said, good thing I waited. Now here we got a beautiful color. This, I believe, is saffron.
Yes.
And notice, folks, we've had, that yellow color in most of the pasta or the rice dishes we've seen. But if you notice, this one is the most vibrant, I think, of the colors because if you've ever used saffron, well, first of all, you know how, if you've ever used it, you know how potent it is and how, condensed and stuff but it always, the Spanish people love it for their paellas, and I understand why, because it turns such a vibrant color that anything else with it, it's going to magnify those colors. So the true colors, like here, the tomato, the greens, are even magnified even more because of the almost day-glowish kind of color of the yellow. So it really is, besides being a great taste, it's just a phenomenal presentation from that color. Go ahead and tell us some more important things than what I'm babbling about.
All right. What we have here is our house-made saffron fettuccine. So we're making our fettuccine in-house. It's a beautiful thing to get that perfect consistency and to have it cook al dente when we go. It's served in a simple sauce called aglio, which is a mixture of garlic, olive oil, and fresh herbs. And then we add grape tomatoes, which we give just a gentle press to add a little of the liquid into the dish, and jumble up crab meat with fresh garden-grown basil.
There you go. Well, I'm telling you, if nothing else, you're going to just add a delight to everyone when they see the color, because it's so vibrant. I don't even know if the camera can do justice to it when you see it in person, flavor-wise as well. So you see, we're giving you 4 or 5 tremendous selections to either start off or to be your main entree. Now, I'm almost 100% sure, and the director probably pull a fast one on me, that the next is soup. And the reason why I want to tell you about soup is because, for me, soup is an everyday feature. In other words, if I can have soup every day, I'm content. Now, people say, well, how do you eat hot soup during the summer? Well, I do, because that's how much I like it. But one thing that's really overlooked by many, many diners is a chilled soup. Oh, my God. They say, what, that is horrible. And it really is not. It's one of the most refreshing soups. The French, of course, kind of initiated it years ago with vichyssoise, which is basically a cold potato soup, but delicious. But we've got here, and I hope he brings that picture up because I may have to change it midstream if we're not talking about, good. Here we have my favorite fruit or vegetable, which I never know what it is, and that's the avocado. Once again, talk about color. We talked about the saffron. Well, the avocado green on this, as you can see, is truly, once again, glowing and just lighting up the entire plate. Tell us about this delicious chilled soup.
All right, as we said, this is a chilled avocado soup. We go ahead and finish it with a little bit of habanero-infused oil, which adds a nice spice to that rich, cool creaminess of the soup. Now with the soup, it's a very simple preparation of slowly sweated yellow onions and avocado pureed together with a little bit of bechamel and seasoning.
Okay, why don't we tell them what a bechamel sauce is? I know what it is, but again, once again, someone might not know what a bechamel sauce is.
All right,
I've seen that more in bakeries and other, but go ahead, let's talk about bechamel.
Bechamel's a simple sauce of blonde roux, which we're all pretty much familiar with, and adding milk slowly into it.
Right. And that's it. A lot of the French bakers will put that on as a sauce on their croissants and stuff like that. And so it's a real basic sauce, but adding it to here just gives another depth to the soup. And anything else did we miss on the soup? I don't know if we missed.
No, that's it. But the body of the soup really makes it an approachable chilled soup.
Right.
Because a lot of it has that feeling of a warm soup, where like that almost full mouthfeel of eating a good chowder or something along those lines.
Right, but not so heavy, and that's what I was concerned about, because sometimes you get a vichyssoise, something like that, and it's so heavy that it's almost coagulated, and that's a terrible term to use, but I don't know what word to use. Here was not. It still was evenly moving, like the fluidity of the soup, like what you normally see in a hot soup, was there. And that's what I enjoyed. But the delightful chill to it was perfect. I mean, it was a warm day when we went, not as warm as today, but again, a warm evening. So what better way to start than to have it? And I was the only one, I think, a couple of them tasted it, but as usual, they all, oh, no, we don't want soup. We don't want cold soup now. But they don't know what they're missing. So if you like avocados and if you like soup, hopefully you'll love this and try. Now, let me ask before we move on further, do you alternate any other chilled soups that you might be serving this summer?
We're looking at doing we're running a chilled asparagus soup at the restaurant in Homer right now.
Okay.
Also, we like to play with a bunch of different gazpachos. We have
excellent, perfect,
from watermelon to strawberry, and then classic tomato, green tomato.
Yeah,
we like to play with cold soups.
Well, that's great, because those are wonderful choices. And a watermelon gazpacho is just such a new thing. But again, so refreshing. It really is. Well, any of the gazpacho, but specifically that one, that just that infusion of the watermelon, which just drips with liquid and sweetness, just really perfect. Notice our directors put up our call list, our 2 numbers. If you want to give us a call, Chef would love to hear from you, so would I. Anything we could answer about it. Because remember, this restaurant, you can only go once a week. It's called CHRISTIANOS, and I don't believe there's even a sign out there of Christianity, is there? No.
So we fly under the Martinique
So
sign.
you have to remember the word Martinique. Well, even though the name is CHRISTIANOS, you have to remember the name Martinique Bistro if you want to find the place, because Martinique's going to be easily displayed. But at the same time, like I say, if you work off the website, they'll have a map for you, or they'll give you directions on the phone if you've never been to Martinique. But remember, it's only Monday evening, so you really got to get out there and give them a sample. All right, let's see. I think we have 1 or 2 more entrees If not, then we got to go ahead and go listen to our musical guest. Do we have another entree, Lad, or is it? This is. Oh, I had to have that. Now this is a side, and it wound up being predominantly me and I think one other person. I just love. For years, I never ate a Brussels sprout, and I have some people who condemn me today because I gave my family such hell because I could not even stand the smell or the look of a Brussels sprout. It's only in the last 5 years that now I crave them. And only roasted, if they're done in the way that we traditionally did in my house, it was basically just boiled or something, I couldn't stand it. These were a step above because once again they're taking a little bit about the roasting of it, but then added other. It's not just which of course kind of dries them out when you roast them, unless you have some other salts or other ingredients. So tell us about this, which I thought was really superior.
These are our pan-roasted Brussels sprouts, and I'm with you on the not necessarily loving Brussels sprouts for the longest time, and then within the past few years, I've been an extreme fan of them.
So what else do you do with it? Because, I mean, you can see there's other things in here, and you can see there's a sauce, which will make sure you keep the moisture, which, like I say, most of the ones are roasted orange. Mm-hmm. So even though the flavor's there, they're real dry.
Yeah.
So
we start off with a pecan-wood smoked bacon, and we render that down to get that nice fat to cook the Brussels sprouts in. We sear them from there and let them steam up a little bit, and then we toss them with our house-made mustard, which is a spicy mustard made with mustard seed, white wine, and then homemade caramel. So we have a sweet yet spice tossed with the nice flavor of the Brussels and the smokiness of the bacon.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go, folks. I think we've touched on all the pictures we have for the entrees and the sides and the soups. So next we'll just do desserts. But as you know, we usually take a break here. As much as I spoke, this is one more dish, and I've forgotten about this. And I had to say, I can't even identify this. I know we went over in the brief. Tell us about this dish. It's a mystery dish to me. I know I tried it, but I don't remember it.
This is our saltimbocca.
This is milk. Well, in fact, we have two more then because we have one more magnificent dish. Go ahead, tell us about the saltimbocca.
This is our milk-fed veal medallions, pounded super thin and cut it with a spoon. It's very soft and delicate. We go ahead and saute this, top it with prosciutto, fontina cheese, and then flash-fried sage.
Yeah, that's what sage.
And it's over a bed of cauliflower mash. So
this is something I think that the ordinary Italian diner probably has never tried. And I'm not saying why, I won't know. Unless maybe the name, maybe they think saltimbocca is going to be so salty they won't like it. But I just think they don't understand the dish. And it's a shame because, as you mentioned, there's nothing tough about anything. It's very, very tasty. So, again, if you've tried some of the others, or you want to try something new, even though it's not new by any means, old as sin, but at the same time, it's something that most diners just don't try, unless you experience differently. That's my understanding of it.
No, agreed. Now, with the pop-up, we have an amazing following on this
by
dish.
By limiting the menu here, this is what's really good, folks, is that you only have, even though we're showing you a lot, it's still a limited part. There's not a whole much more entrees off of this that we're showing you. So it's not like, there's a lot more to select from. So every one of these are prime dishes. Now, maybe we say the best for last, save the best for last, that whole thing. I don't know, it was just the order that came out. But one of my favorite dishes, even though I didn't order but did try it, is ossobuco. Now, again, this is a dish that it's not for the lighthearted. And even though your version is much lighter, because too many times of serving it's so heavy that either I can't finish it or I can only eat a little bit of it because it's just too much in the weight of the dish, not so much the ingredients. But let's take a look at this, yours. Not only is this so unusual presentation, that's what I love, and the prettiness of it, but also the taste of it. So why don't you tell us about this one real quick?
All right, this is our ossobuco, one of our flagship dishes. It is braised veal shank, so it's the hind leg of the veal. And we sear it and then roast it for about 4 to 8 hours to get the most tender meat product available. Inside there, you'll see the bone, which is the most prized portion of the ossobuco. Inside of there is the marrow, which is wonderful, almost like a delicious butter to spread throughout the dish or over bread. And we serve it in a traditional Milanese style with a saffron risotto with peas, English peas, And then we serve hand-peeled baby carrots to add that nice sweet crispness to the dish.
Yes, and again, folks, if you've seen this, even though the other one's a beautiful aerial view, this as a close-up you can see, because always ossobuco, because of the bones, and again, I maybe explain, I'm not sure what part of the bone it's from, but, it's usually the most prominent part. It's sticking up vertically in the dish in some direction. Here it's a little bit of an angle. But that's usually all you see. Then you see sauce around it. But notice this really has much more the look of a French Italian stew, which I really love. To me, the French make some of the best stews possible, I think. And so right away, this, even though I didn't order it because I didn't know what it was going to look like, I was so attracted to the dish because the presentation, once again, if you've ever eaten, you'll see this does not look, other than looking at the meat itself, this does not look like the normal presentation. So you've got, and not only that, the taste is totally divine. It's got so many of the vegetables and the saffron rice that it really is a stew, and much lighter than the meat is still going to be heavy because that's just a source of where the meat is. But at the same time, you've got this very aromatic, very colorful stew to accompany it. So if you're not going to eat anything else, this is going to be your best choice because it's going to be totally filling. You don't need anything else. More than likely, you will not be able to finish this because it's just, that still has that weightiness, that fillingness of the, doesn't feel heavy when it's going down like some of the others, but at the same time, it is quite filling. Okay, I think we have a couple of minutes before we go to the musician. Is there any other dish, even though we don't have any pictures of it? Oh, we do? Where are they coming up with these pictures? Boy, I tell you, we didn't go through these. We didn't memorize these too well today. Tell us what this is, so that's great.
All right, this is our anatra, which is duck.
Now tell people because they're not going to know what that is.
Yeah, this is a simple duck breast that we get from a local farm. What we do, we pound this duck breast out real thin, nice and tender, and we crust it in a homemade ciabatta breadcrumb. Has a little bit of lemon zest and Parmesan in it. Here we serve it over a charred lemon risotto. Now you see risotto a few times.
Are you sautéing this? How are you?
This is sautéed, yes.
Sautéed. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. And served over what now?
Charred lemon risotto. Now you see risotto a few times throughout the menu.
Right.
It's a very versatile dish. You can create different aspects with it. So here we're using charred lemons, which are just fresh lemons, which we go ahead, put over a flame and really caramelize the sugars in it. So it gives a great flavor to that, a subtle citrus, and we top it with a little bit of arugula and tomato salad.
Wow. Excellent. And you see, and you would never think of duck in this manner, at least I hadn't. And duck is a wonderful, if you've never tried duck, and there's so many ways of serving it. Of course, the Asian way, especially Chinese, very heavy, usually with heavy sauces, either orange or cherries, and it's delicious. Mm-hmm. Or they go to the other extreme where they, almost like a Hindu, where it's seared and it's so double crispy but also very dry. That's why they have to have a dipping sauce. This is because it's sautéed so lightly. It's in very, very moist, with the pasta and the sauces and the salad, just bringing it to a new level because you're making almost like a salsa, French salsa on top of the duck. So if you like duck, this is a great addition that you normally, I don't think, would expect to find in an Italian restaurant. Okay, now unless I'm missing it, I think that's the end of the entree pictures. We want to talk, for those who came in late, we're pleased to have Executive Chef Lindsey Mason. Came all the way from Houma today, and he does commute several days a week to the restaurant because he's always there on Monday, because Monday is the day that they actually open for business, as we mentioned, as a pop-up on Monday evenings at Martinique Bistro. But remember, on Monday nights, Martinique is known as Christianos because it's Italian, and it's the chef and the staff. They even bring the front of the staff, the lovely waitresses, the hostess, the general manager. Everyone comes up. It's like a busload of folk. And they bring not only their know-how, but also their hospitality. I was very, very pleased with not only the service, but the respect and the conviviality of all of the staff. Everyone, the waitresses, the bussers, and all was still... You could see they're very happy to be serving, very happy that they're able to bring their food to New Orleans to be well received. All right, now we're going to go back and take a look and listen to, we mentioned the young lady. She's going to do our second song on the guitar. Her name is Ashley Beach, sorry about that. And we'll come back and talk about beverages and desserts when she's finished her number 2 song. Let's take a look.
Titled Before You Were Born.
She looked like she was toughing that out at the end. Did you notice? Didn't look like it was flowing freely. But anyway, once again, still saying fairly melodic. So that was Ashley Beach. Once again, kudos to our director. I don't know if I'm allowed to say his name on air because he gets so much popularity. But anyway, he's doing a great job with regard to bringing Ashley Beach to her finest for you all, because there are times when you might not enjoy her as much in some of her renditions. Anyway, we're back to, as we mentioned, Executive Chef Lindsey Mason of the Monday night pop-up CHRISTIANOS at Martinique. We want to go ahead and talk a little bit about beverages, because you got to have something to wash down all this good food and then whet your appetite for desserts after with some of the standard ones that he's offering on that pop-up menu. Now, Martinique has always had a petite but magnificently stocked bar. So if you've ever been in, because it's in this little hole in the wall, it's got lift-up doors and everything for the beverages, but they do a darn good job of creating anything, I think, that any diner, and I know you're taking advantage of that same stock of alcohol that they keep there and turning out the same, if not even more, some delicates. So give us a little idea of what type of beverages someone would have that
similar to Martinique, we do have an extensive wine list that we bring with us. A lot of Italian wines. That
Good.
Not
I was wondering, I forgot to ask you whether you did bring some specifically paired Italian
we bring
wines.
some paired whites and some paired reds, and also offer the same availability that Martinique has, as well as specialty drinks. Been playing a little bit with infusing vodkas and infusing different liqueurs or liquors, but not too much. You don't want to take away too much from it, but just to give it a little more accent.
Yeah, and that's so popular. In fact, two of our diners are infused nuts, especially when it comes to martinis. They love, and so they were just thrilled with the ones that they got from your place. So that's great testimony. Because today, I don't drink anymore, so I don't see the fascination with it. But today, the mixologists are now heralded almost equal, if sometimes not above, some of the chefs as alluring. And it's always been our philosophy in the show here that the beverages are a supplement to the food. They're not the lead into the food. Because too many people started as a lead in, and every food tastes good after that. So that's the difference. We want to bring the food so that whether you're a drink or you're a teetotal like I, you can enjoy the food for its full. Now, it's going to be even enhanced with a great wine or something like that, but it should not be the lead to the restaurant. It should be the follower to the entree or to the dish. Okay, now let's talk about dessert. So we can get anything great non-alcoholic. You get a lot of juices and a lot of teas and all. So for us like that, it's fine. But let's go ahead and take a look. We got to look at a couple of the desserts. I'm not sure if they were all the desserts offered that night, but look at this fresh baby, because this is something that you really want to see. Ice cream, fruit, berries, stuff like that. In the summertime, how delightful. Let's talk about this. What we got?
All right, now with the pop-up, we rotate our desserts and bring in different things each week. What we have here is a cappuccino gelato.
Absolutely delicious. I love cappuccino, and to put it in this was just a wonderful flavor. Go ahead. What else?
The cappuccino, so we take espresso, cinnamon. We actually add a little bit of marshmallow into it, broken down, so you don't have pieces. But it gives it that overall creaminess and fluffiness. And, of course, being a gelato, it's going to have that nice creaminess to it to really push that cappuccino flavor.
Exactly.
With it, we have some macerated blueberries, local blueberries, macerated with a little Grand Marnier. Now, macerated is simply taking the blueberries, mixing them with the Grand Marnier, and mashing them a little bit.
Yeah, not enough to disfigure them, but just enough to ooze out a little bit of their contents. And then to top it with my favorite, mint. To me, it's just so fine, man. I'm a real big supporter of like parsley, mint, and cilantro, because not only are they so healthy for you, but too many things Americans just use and think it's strictly decoration. We don't eat that. That's strictly decorating. And they don't realize how wonderful. I chew and eat all of my mint, whether it's in a tea, unless it's not a good-looking mint. If it's in tea or like here in the gelato or anything, I will chew it up and cut it up in little pieces, mix it with things, or eat it by itself. It has such a flavor that of its own that is so refreshing. That's why it's called mint. It's a refreshing mint. So anyway, this was a great one. And let's take a look at our second one, which was for this week. And let's see if we can bring that up. What's this say? This is a true Italian restaurant has cannolis. A real Italian restaurant makes their own. We had a wonderful family, or two families in New Orleans that were the monopoly, let's call it this way, of cannolis here in the city. They still are. They still do wonderful. They not only sell out of their own, resale out of their own, they wholesale to the groceries, and many of the restaurants still carry. Absolutely nothing wrong. The only thing wrong with it is that the longer the time it sits in the refrigerator, the less fresh it tastes. And that is the key to a true good cannoli, is the freshness of the ingredients and that wonderful crust. Because as that gets a little drier, a little staler, it totally loses. Here, that's why a freshly made, homemade cannoli, no matter what flavor or what are the ingredients, are always going to be superior to a store-bought. Tell us about your beautiful version here.
All right, so here we start off with the cannoli shell. Very simply.
Yeah, how do you do that?
It's a fried pastry dough. You take a pastry dough, you roll it out nice and flat, And then you wrap it around a cylinder. From there, you fry it. I mean, simple as that. You'll see it gets a beautiful texture and crispness to the outside of it as that quick heat pops the air bubbles and makes the pockets on the outside of the shell itself, giving it more texture. Inside, ricotta cheese, sugar, toasted pistachios, and a little bit of chocolate. Fill that.
And you know, folks, in the classic way that we sell, the only place that made it, they would always have one or two things. They would have they might have two flavors. One would be maybe chocolate on one end and almond or vanilla on the other. But the vanilla would have one or two things. It would either have little jellied cubes, which is citron cube, which I didn't care for because they were just too hard to chew, or my favorite, pistachio. And so here you have the best of both worlds. You have the same ricotta, but you have the combination of some pistachios for the nut, the crunch, and a little bit of chocolate. Not enough to alter the flavor. So it's not going to taste like a totally chocolate stuffed ricotta, because I know, that's a different flavor altogether. But at the same time, enough of a hint. And then once again, bringing it with that mint flavor, which I know a lot of you won't try, is just a phenomenal addition. Okay, were there any, and I know you say you change it every other week, but let's quickly, because I want to make that announcement. Any other any other dessert that you think, whether you've had it already or upcoming, that you think you really knocked their socks off?
Well, our classic tiramisu. It's amazing. It's light, yet still dense enough to give you the flavor. Great espresso used in it, ladyfingers, and whipped mascarpone cheese.
All right. That is one of the dishes, of course. True tiramisu is just unbeatable. The problem is American chefs, bakers, have realized that American palate is so sweet. And all desserts, I mean, I love a key lime pie or a lemon tart, something like that. And it's very rare at any bakery shop or restaurant that you can get one that's truly tart. They're all overloaded with sugar. And same thing here, that the tiramisu now has become, let's put so much whipped cream, it doesn't even taste, should have that coffee, that espresso flavor, should have that richness of that with some hint, and having the ladyfingers it was just a beautiful touch and a great consistency. So I haven't tried it, but I certainly would. And so I know I stay away from that dessert a lot now because of that very reason, because I know I'm going to be disappointed. I don't want a heavily sweet dessert unless I really want a sweet dessert.
Right.
And that's just not the one. All right. We're real pleased. Let me finish up real quick, and I'm going to make that announcement for the chef. I got 3 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Floor Director. CHRISTIANOS. Remember that. CHRISTIANO. Ristorante. RISTORANTE.com. CHRISTIANOS Restaurant, Italian restaurant. Monday nights only. Monday evening onlys at Martinique Restaurant on Magazine. Call for reservations. You'll see this wonderful Northern Italian extract of their main menu. You will not be disappointed. But since we first discussed Chef and with the owners appearing at our restaurant about to pop up, we have great news. And the news is that the owners have secured a well-known restaurant. And I am so happy because it's on the street I live. What more convenient than that? And that is, for those who haven't heard this, now the foodies all know because it's been in the tabloids all over the food columns, the restaurant called Dick and Jenny's. There's another one called Matt and Natty's, and a lot of people get those mixed up because Matt and Natty's is further down, and it opened before, and it's a wonderful restaurant itself. But this is on Jenna and Chapatulas, right across the big landmark grocery store. It opened, I don't know how many years ago. It's small, but it's got a great caliber of food and turning out. Well, now the Cristiano folks own it. They're not turning it into Cristianos, okay? So don't feel, oh my God, because Dick and Jenny's has always had a very superior menu and staff. All of your staff people will be there. So I have a good friend, I won't put a name on it, who's been there for years as a waitress, server, and so I'm so glad she and the existing chef is staying on. But Jason will now complement it, because what they're going to do is introduce, slowly but surely, several of the dishes from at least the extract now from the pop-up, and probably eventually some from the classical. So you'll be able to sample some of Christiano's food at Dick and Jenny's on any night that they're open. So if you can't make Monday night, you work Monday nights, or it's just not a good night for you to go out to eat, you can. Now this is starting in July. They're open right now, serving just the Dick and Jenny menu. They're working together, the two chefs, to perfect this for the beginning. Let's say after 4th of July. Make your reservations on any night they're open. And I don't know all their nights, but I'm sure they're open most nights and maybe closed in one. And then you can look. Hopefully the menu will be on the website soon, so you can see the dishes that we've seen today. I've talked too much, but announcement for those who are not aware. Go to Dick and Jenny's or to Christiano's. And look for me in the restaurants. I'll be glad to tell you what you probably don't want to hear. Take care. All right.
My next song is entitled Twist.